his own banner. Have a seat, Marcus. Did you recognize the music? Did you recognize the sounds?
No.
It was it was chainsaws. Not unfamiliar to you.
Okay.
Don't forget to talk into the mic, of course, else people will not understand.
Guys, this is a podcast. Normally I would be talking to you guys. So
Yeah.
I guess it's going to be a little bit more intimate.
It's very intimate with me. You have a date.
Okay.
a date with me. I know it's a strange date, but it is what it is. Marcus, welcome.
Cold, huh? Are you guys cold? It's cold.
I'm hot, but maybe it's because of you, Marcus.
It's a date.
It's a date, right? Many people forget that you started as a major music video director back in the 90s. I think you worked with artists with like Janet Jackson, George Michael, Faith No More. I
Yeah.
found that in my research. It's pretty crazy.
All of them. It was my film school. I never went to film school. I don't have any formal film training as my movies show, I'm afraid. But more than anything else, I was a fan who got really, really lucky.
Yeah, you started out, we were talking before, and you also told me that like you really started out like a fan, and that was really the base of anything you did. How did you transition from music videos to making horror movies? Because I think the transition is not the most, how would you say it, mainstream one. I think not a lot of people transition from music videos to horror, because it's a big step, right?
It was very consequential because a lot of us that came out of music videos didn't go to film school and then wound up in horror. These are both genres where you get your first chances. You know?
True.
Yeah. I guess they believe nobody can spoil a hamburger.
It's true. Do you think that film school is important for directors, or do you think anybody can become a director if they just want to put their head to it?
I'm a case that somebody should be going to film school.
No, I don't think so. I think you transcended that, and I think a lot of directors that didn't go to film school and kind of were self-taught, maybe kind of put visual storytelling, atmospheric building in front of, oh, but I need to get this technically right because that's the way I taught it in film school.
I tell you, my film school, I lived in a little industrial suburb of Frankfurt, Germany. Not very different from where we are here right now. And back then, it took a year for a movie to get translated. I was talking about it yesterday. When Star Wars came out, it was the first movie where you had a culture such as this, where you would buy t-shirts and have action figures, and you get the soundtrack, and had the Star Wars bed sheets, I was saying. And in a way, you live and breathe the movie before you even had the chance to see it.
That's right, yeah.
And then the movie comes out, and in some cases you were like floored how amazing it is, beyond your imagination. In some cases was like,
the toys were better.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. What's better, the action figure of the movie, and whatever it was, it inspired you to imagine the movie. It was a great benefit to not being able to see the movie you want to see for over a year and making it in your mind, in the tree house with your Boy Scout club,
Did you feel that you were, back in those days, you were playing with those toys with your friends? We're talking about what, you're very young, obviously, so it must be 2010 or something.
And we never believed, I don't think we ever thought we were playing.
That's what
very
I'm wondering.
serious. I think you guys are taking it very serious, right? This is not play. It's part of your DNA by the time you're done with it.
And did you feel back then already that within your group of friends you were a storyteller?
No.
When did that come?
The first thing, my highest ambition at the time, I didn't even think about film as a business I could really do. My highest ambition was to be a cartoonist for Mad Magazine. You're all very young, but Mad Magazine was a satirical magazine with cool drawings, and I loved them, and I wanted to be an illustrator. And then later I got into advertising, essentially through storyboarding, and then through storyboarding I wound up working for a feature film promotional company. It was called our Greenberg Associates. That's a company that came up with the Alien Egg, of the Ghostbusters campaign.
Oh wow.
They did all of that.
Cool.
And we used animation and live action to do that. And I had the great privilege in the first month of me working there to have worked for everybody from James Cameron to Steven Spielberg, Francis Ford Coppola, Brian De Palma. That was
Wow.
just 1 month. Ivan Reitman,
Damn.
Abel Ferrara. And then I would meet those directors and see that they have the same insecurities and fears and concerns that you would have if you would make your first movie, you know.
I would have more, I'm pretty sure. Of course, we're gonna do a big time lapse now, right? So there was little Marcus Nispel playing with the toys, making up the stories in your mind.
I'm still little Marcus Nispel playing with the toys. Let me assure you.
Me too. Well, I'm not Marcus Nispel, obviously. I'm someone else. But yeah, I still play with toys. I think everybody still plays with toys, right? We all buy toys.
This is a toy playing culture.
It's just
And
us
like
two,
I said,
Marcus.
it's not playing.
Yeah, no, of course, it's they're collectibles, not
right.
not toys. Then there was the horror revival. We're making a big time lapse now, a big time jump. There was this horror revival. When is the moment you grab your chance and you say like, this is the movie I want to remake. This is the one I want to do. Is it something that played in your head for a couple of years? Is it something that you grabbed the chance on? Which one was the first one that you said, that's the movie I would like to make?
Well, you see, I knew I wanted to do something special, and being European, I figured it had to be an auteur kind of thing. And I told my agent I want something original, no remake, no horror, no prequel, no sequel. You know, I'm a filmmaker. Right?
Yeah.
And then they sent me the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I remember I didn't read it, and I threw the script through my hotel room.
Really?
And I called him like to complain, and he says, well, just read it, right? And I couldn't take it out of my hands. It was like, it takes me a long time to read a screenplay, sometimes 3-4 days, sometimes a week. But when I'm done reading it, I can make that movie. I can imagine exactly beat by beat how everything will look like. That I could read in real time. 90 minutes I was done.
Wow.
Going like, I want to do that.
So in 90 minutes you were already like convinced.
Yes.
This is the movie I want to make.
It's very hard for me, maybe because I'm visual, to envision a movie, because I really want to know how does it work inside and out. I find screenplays hard to read, and when I did feature promotion, it was almost impossible. I remember the first movie I had to read was Francis Ford Coppola's Peggy Sue Got Married. I had no idea what was going on. I'm almost dyslexic, you know.
For screenplays.
And I'm dyslexic with numbers. I'm severely dyslexic with numbers. I don't know my home phone. I don't know my phone number. I don't know my house number. So I had a severe issue. I got thrown out of school because of that.
And how do you get home, Marcus?
Honestly, I have a driver.
There you go, of course. Don't we all?
Well, what you realize as a dyslexic is you need to collaborate. A lot of you can say, okay, I'm a painter, I will paint it my way and nobody else will get between me and my paintbrush. And I'm like, I need a lot of help. I don't know how to balance my checkbook. I don't know how to get home. I don't drive a car. too many numbers.
So you always learn to work with a team, to have people,
yes,
to delegate. Because I think as a director also, I think a lot of people don't know that, but as a director you have to delegate quite a lot of things. You have to say, okay, I trust you with this process. It came out of my head, but then now it's yours.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't underestimate that the director doesn't have to do everything on set. It would be impossible.
Yeah.
You need a team around you. Let's go into that process, because you said it's hard for you to get through screenplays because of your dyslexia, but this one you got through it in 90 minutes. What made it so different?
It was visual.
It was very visual.
Yeah.
And you're of course a visual storyteller that we can see in your movies. From that process on, how does it go? What do you do next? You know the script, I'm gonna make it. What happens next? Do you start drawing things?
Yes, every one of my movies I made around 2,500, 2,400 drawings.
Wow, so you really know exactly how scenes are gonna look like.
It's my homework, and when I'm done, you can take the storyboard, throw it away, and never look at it again. And most people don't want to look at it. You think Drew will look over it and do as I draw? Not really. But I made the movie on paper, Now I can tell you about it.
And then you can tell your teams about it. That's amazing. What was your vision to update that original? Because you knew obviously there was a film in the 70s, and now I'm trying to update it to current times, because you kind of adapted it as well so that it fits in current times. What was the first thing you thought about? Okay, like this needs to go. I need to change this up because this is not gonna age. It didn't age well.
Well, I never aim to update them because I live in the past and I live in the 70s. So if anything, I think very hard, how can I bottle that? How can I make a movie like the movies I grew up with? So I very much make them for the 16-year-old in me. But I read once something about remaking a material, and it really impressed me because I think I've done that without knowing it at the time. I read it a few years ago, and the question was the one you had, which is, what do you do when you remake a material that a lot of people like? If it's a book, a TV show from the 70s, a movie that was done before, a newspaper article, you get together with 10 people that like it as much as you do, and you talk to them about it for an hour. And after that hour, there may be 10 points that overlap. Oh, there's a chainsaw, and he makes a mask out of human skin, and and it's in Texas, right? So these 10 things that overlap themselves the most must be in the movie. Everything else must be new. And that was always my rule book.
That's a pretty good rule book, I think, and I think it's a good place to start that story. You made it, of course, very gritty, very visual. What is your process? How do you think? Can you explain fear? Because I think that's a very hard question. Can you explain what makes it scary? Does it need to scare you, or does it need to? How do you explain that you made so many scenes that are like with the grandfather in the wheelchair that confronts them? For me, it's a very impactful scene to me personally. Maybe not to everyone.
It's creepy,
yes,
but creepy is not necessarily scary. And you realize when you make a movie like that you're done and you go like, cinematography looks okay, acting is decent, I like the music, I like the sounds, but is it scary? You don't know if it's scary. That's the hardest thing. It's kind of like you play a prank on somebody. You know what you're doing. You're not going to be scared if you stage it, right? So the one thing you don't know when you make a scary movie is it really scary? So you watch people watching it at a certain point. You've seen it already 100, 200 times, right? And you sit with the audience and you look at their foot and they go like, oh, I think I have to make a cut here, I remember I showed it to one person, and then later I asked her questions about logic. Did you get it when they went from here to there? And she goes, no. And I like, and how about that? No, I didn't get that. And I go like, the movie's not working. She didn't get any of the finer points. And she said, no, because I always did like this and I couldn't see it. That's why most of it escaped her. So I guess it's working.
Success. It scares people.
But at one point, I'm repeating things for those that heard it yesterday. At one point, I had to do some additional shooting, and it was a scene in Texas Chainsaw, for those of you who've seen it, when Jason comes out one more time with an amputated arm and he swings at the car and there's sparks and all that. And the editor got the dailies already and he put it in and I didn't know. And I watched the movie again for the 200th time. And that scene happens and I'm like, oh, and I go like, oh shit. And it was the only time in my life I was scared by something that I did myself just because I wasn't prepared for it.
But then it works.
I knew it worked.
Are there moments on set, because I've heard some of the actors say like on set sometimes that energy is really tangible? No. There's no moment that you are scared.
No, the actors are just goofing around. It's like high school with money. You just do pranks and amuse each other, and that'll look creepy. But no, there's nothing scary about the process, really.
Because you know that it's what's going to happen from A to B. It's so rehearsed that there's no moments that it's so strange.
But it's fun and it's low budget, which means you have to shoot fast. So it's almost a real-time experience. And those movies are being shot in sequence. I mean, you guys know by now, like when they make a movie, they say, okay, we shoot all the scenes in this location first, and then we shoot all the scenes in that location. And sometimes you start with the ending, and then you do the middle, and then you continue that scene. But it's so low budget that the producers want to get rid of the actors. So if an actor gets killed, they want to get him off the clock, out of the hotel room, send them back to LA, right? So it's very rare that you can shoot a movie in sequence, and it's simply because they want to kiss the actors goodbye. So what was interesting in Texas Chainsaw, for example, is they really became friends very quickly. And then when the first guy would get killed, the next time they have to say goodbye, it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a friend just moving away. And a lot of them stayed friends. And I love going to these events because sometimes there's a reunion, they see each other again. They really enjoyed each other's company. So when somebody gets killed, the loss is real.
Yeah, so for the people that are listening maybe to the podcast, shot in sequence means it's shot chronologically,
yes,
in the order of the movie.
Yes.
So it's actually, you're actually filming the movie as it progresses.
It's rare that happens, and it's great for a filmmaker because everybody knows they're in the scene, and you know, it's a progression. They did it first, I think, they did it remarkably on Deliverance because they couldn't find insurance. What is if somebody drowns? Oh, Bert died, you know, but you know, we still have to get out of here, and they would just write it into the movie. That's what they did on Deliverance.
Do you think it's so you've done movies in sequence, and you probably also did it in the unchronological order. Which feels more natural to you?
Well, to shoot in sequence is more natural, you know.
Because the actor really feels that loss in real life.
And actors like working. I work very, very fast, and so for them it's almost a real-time experience, you know. And there are very few retakes, and there's not a lot of waiting between takes, which I think is important for that kind of a movie that's muscular or visceral.
Yeah, you gotta keep that pace going.
That's right.
Do you feel that I'm just gonna retake the fact that you work with a lot of music artists, do you feel that feel for rhythm, that it affected the way you make movies?
I think when you work with, on music videos it's very different because these are performers whose first experience of success was standing on a stage with a big crowd going apeshit, right?
True.
So for them to do a music video is not a real experience. They don't have the same feeling that they have in a live show. So for them to get a music video done is like going to the dentist. You know, it's like pulling teeth. Yeah. It's like what they have to do.
Yeah, they don't like it.
For actors, it's very different. So it's very different. Where it helped me a lot doing music videos was when I got from music videos into commercials.
Oh.
Because music videos, in a way, are commercials for CDs.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Only you're not advertising a shampoo or a butter bar. They're real life people.
Yeah.
So you start to think of the job you're doing as a job you're performing for real life people. So when you do a commercial, I thought about it in the same way. Today they call it branding, right? And when you make a horror movie, it's also a brand because a movie, by the time I make it or remake it, has been already shaped in the collective consciousness of an entire fan base. So it's not only what I think is right, or what the producers think is right, I'm also dealing with expectation. Absolutely. And that is very much a life. It is not just like, hey, let's write something fun and shoot that. But no, there's an expectation.
Yeah, I think you're right into the next subject, which is, of course, Jason Voorhees. You also made that movie, and he's such an iconic character. The way he looks, the way he moves, everything is very iconic, and there's a big expectation. How much fan service do you feel you have to give before your story starts? Because I think with a lot of things like Star Wars and things that went on for a long time, there's all that what you just explained, and you, of course, you're a fan yourself. I know that because we talked before. How much you know that, like, okay, I need to put this in. This is what I need to do.
Well, Jason is one of those characters that lived with me for a long time before I was even allowed to watch a Friday the 13th movie. I was a Boy Scout. I was a determined Boy Scout. That was also my first film crew, my first film team, right? When I was a Boy Scout, we would tell each other Jason stories, never having seen the movie. And so again, something we made in our minds. Now I'm standing here casting for the next Jason, right? And the producers will always tell you, go for the tallest guy. The strongest, tallest guy gets a job. So when Derek showed up, it was an interesting experience because he put the mask on, he put the outfit on, and here your podcast works as a disadvantage. There was a mirror and he did this.
So for people that are watching the podcast, they can see.
He did that twist with his body, and he held the machete like this. And I go, "You're doing Frank Frazetta," and he goes, "Yeah." He says, "It's my favorite artist." And I go, "Yeah, Frank Frazetta always does this twist, right? Conan, he did all these Conan or Tarzan drawings, and when I saw that twist, I knew that's what he was doing, and I said, that's why you're going to get the job, because you know how to wear the outfit, so you don't just look like a postal worker. Yeah. But you know, there's a danger to it that's inherent, because I felt that Jason is a survivor. He was a kid that went into the woods, and he's still alive. Surely he's a hunter. He's kind of like a Rambo, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
He got to be able to run. He got to be able to, you know, defend himself and to survive. And what did he do? Chase rabbits and grill them, right?
Yeah.
So you already, because of the character, you're departing from the sort of Halloween image that people had from Jason, that he's always just like standing there. But on top of it, there was a main reason why I wanted to make the movie, which was the first 20 pages I read in the script. And in the first 20 pages, if you watch it, from the 6 kids in the van, everybody's dead. I'm just 20 minutes in, they're all dead. Like, I gotta make that movie. That's different, right? And so, how the hell am I supposed to do that without the guy running?
Yeah.
You gotta be quick on his feet to pull that off. And so it's ever since he runs. But then you read the fans going like, they see the trailer and they go like, Jason runs, instant fail.
Yeah.
and
it's weird because you said it is, I think it's widely now accepted, at least among some fans, is that Jason must be a survivalist. He must have somehow lived in that forest, somehow figured out how to make traps, somehow try to survive, because okay, is a kind of supernatural force, we're gonna say, but he needs to survive.
So what you just did is what the director does, is you look at a character and you try to imagine the character three-dimensionally, and you come up with a certain conclusion, so the part writes itself, right? I didn't tell him, he came up with the same conclusion, just thinking about it a little bit. And that's how you do that.
I really only thought about it a very little bit. That's the only, that's as far as my brain goes. I feel also in your movie, he feels more like a force of nature than a person. Was that intentional, like almost turning him into a myth rather than just a slasher?
So I did 2 movies in a row with a guy wearing a mask, right? So in the case of Texas Chainsaw Massacre, one of the biggest issues I had with the producers was I wanted him to take the mask off for one moment, and I wanted to show his disfigurement. In Latin, mask means persona. The word persona means mask. Personality is not who you are, it's a mask you're wearing at an interview, at a date. That's your personality. It's not you, it's what you put up, right? So here's somebody who lost his face, but to have a personality, he takes the faces of all these pretty kids that come to that town that ridicule him, like his classmates, whatever. He takes their face, he wears that. Persona, that's his mask. And I thought it was important because that is what they're calling screenwriting classes impetus, right? That is why he does what he does. And also, I felt it gives you a little bit of sympathy for the villain. And to me, all the most revered characters are characters we actually have sympathy for. It's not just because they're bad. What we're hating on is the preppy asshole that doesn't collaborate with the others, gets everybody killed. But Jason's kind of like your Leatherface is your anti-hero. Now, in the case of Jason, you're gonna find that interesting. I also wanted to take his mask off, and I wanted it to happen in his death scene. When he gets pulled by that chain into the shredder, I wanted the mask to go in there, and for a moment I want to see his face, and it looks pitiful, and almost like a child, like a disfigured child going through the shredder. And I wanted to have sympathy for him in that last moment, and remember the kid that was wrong back then on Crystal Lake, right? And so they're announcing the movie. It's not in the trailer, but they're announcing the movie at Comic-Con in San Francisco. It's an event just like this one. And there was a fanboy who wore a stormtrooper outfit from Star Wars. And he saw the producers, he took his helmet off and he says, "Dudes, whatever you do, he does not take his mask off. Jason never takes his mask off. Do never show him with the mask. If you do that, you're dead in the water as far as I'm concerned." They come back and they say, "We gotta take it out, we gotta take it out." I go like, this is a guy you know from shit. And I'm your director and I tell you, take the mask off. And I just want to show you what power you have.
That's true.
How much a movie like Star Wars or a movie like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th is being shaped by the fan base. And now the internet is even more so pervasive that we actually listen, and I think it serves us well.
Yeah,
I wish somebody would have told me never run, so I would have done that.
We were talking about fan service earlier, and I think that's also the reason you really love doing these things, is because you actually get to connect with the fans and actually get their ideas and also learn new things maybe, and talk about horror all day, right?
Well, I come from this world and I thrive on passion. When I see passion, it's like the fuel for my motor, and how you can endure something like that. Yeah, it's your audience, but I'm not here studying it like a marketing guy.
No, of course not. Yeah.
But I find it absolutely amazing because people think they know you. They think, oh, they want to see blood, and they're bloodthirsty, and they're like probably all boys, and they're like testosterone-driven teenagers. They have no fucking clue.
They should come and check.
These are people that love art, they love poetry, they love self-expression, and it's not just cosplay, the tattoos, the art and love that's being put into, yes, it's a lifestyle. And interestingly enough, for example, no, it's not all pubescent boys. If you really look at the marketing research, the driving force for those movies are females, because it's one of the last genres, a few genres, where female actresses are being born. Jamie Lee Curtis, Sigourney Weaver, they all wouldn't exist. They exist because of those movies. Because in those movies, they don't play second fiddle to Harrison Ford or whoever else. They're not just a screen queen. They get to transform themselves from a pixie into a formidable adversary to the biggest foes we can imagine, the final girl, right?